Salutations. Welcome to Strategy and Analysis Centre. Today's briefing, China's military helicopter fleet, modernization and expansion. China's military helicopter fleet has made huge strides over the past 10 years. How do these developments improve the PLA's combat capabilities? As a consequence of the military reforms that began as early as 2013 that saw both a reduction in the number of PLA troops and an increase in the roles where the PLA might be employed, the PLA increased efforts to improve its air mobility and fire support. For the PLA ground force, a focus area was the qualitative and quantitative improvement in its rotary winged assets. This was also true for the Navy, given its expansion in terms of the number of larger vessels and roles, and better platforms to improve anti-submarine warfare and air assault. If I can ask at some stage during this briefing to hit the like button, it really helps the channel get to a wider audience. This briefing will look at China's helicopter platforms across the PLA ground force, Navy and Air Force, and across all functions, covering reconnaissance, transport utility, attack, anti-submarine warfare, and airborne early warning. I will cover them in this sequence so you can skip ahead to separate sections. Before looking at the helicopters themselves, we'll take a quick look at some of the weapons that are common to many of the platforms, including air-to-air missiles, here the TY-90 with a range of around 6,000 metres, the HJ series of anti-tank guided missiles with ranges of over 5,000 metres, and general ground support provided by unguided rockets. Moving to the helicopter platforms, starting with the reconnaissance attack or armed reconnaissance helicopters, the primary platform is the Z-19. Used by the Ground Force and Air Force, it's a 4-ton class helicopter, similar in size to the Augusta A129. It can be equipped with millimetre wave radars. It has 4 hardpoints for anti-tank guided missiles, air-to-air missiles and rockets, and is identified by a fenestron tail and no nose gun. A secondary platform is the Z-9. Used by the ground forces, this is a 4-ton class helicopter based on the Eurocopter Dolphin. Can be armed with pintle mounted machine guns, and it has 2 hardpoints for air-to-air missiles and rockets. Possibly in service in the ground force as a reconnaissance platform is the Z-11. It's a 2-ton class helo, smaller than the Z-9, and it's based on the Eurocopter EQL. It has 2 main hardpoints for weapons and can have pintle mounted machine guns. Moving to the transport utility helicopters, some of which can also be armed for an attack role, and the latest addition, and moving forward the primary platform, is the Z-20. Used by the Ground Force and Navy, this 10-ton class helo is very similar to the Black Hawk. It can carry 12 personnel and a 4,000 kilogram external load. The Z-20 is heavily influenced by the S-70, 24 of which were bought by China in the 1980s. While it bears a close external resemblance to the S-70, differences include 5 main rotor blades, larger tail spine, and larger cabin. In the medium lift category, PLA began using the Z-8 around 20 years ago. Based on the Aerospatiale Super Freelon, it's a 14-ton class helicopter and used by the ground force, and also by the Navy for air assault, carrier onboard delivery, and search and rescue roles. It can carry around 27 personnel and 5,000 kilogram external load. The original Z-8 has undergone a major improvement, resulting in the Z-8G, with improved range payload performance, placing it in the same class as the Augusta Westland 101. And this is replacing the Z-8 in the Ground Force and Air Force. An additional new variant is the Z-8L, which is developed from the Z-8G. It has a wide-body fuselage and enlarged fuel sponsons. Most significant aspect of the Z-8L is the enlarged cabin area, and this, courtesy of Chinese military aviation, explains the expanded cabin area of the Z-8L on the right compared to the Z-8G. Notice the width of the cabin area has moved to 2.5 metres from the original 1.9, and the height has increased from 1.83 metres in the Z-8G to 1.95 in the L. The mainstay of the PLA medium lift capability, however, remains the MI-17 and MI-171. Utilised by the Ground Force and the Air Force, this 13-ton class helicopter can carry 24 personnel or a 5,000 kilogram external load. One change the MI-171 brings is to replace the clamshell doors with a ramp, allowing internal carriage of small vehicles, such as the Airborne and Air Assault Battalion's Lynx 8x8 vehicles. The Ground Force and Air Force also use the Z9 for some tactical roles. It can carry 10 personnel and a 1,600 kilogram external load. The Ground Force also utilises the Z11. It's a 2-ton class helicopter with 1 pilot and 3 personnel. Provides general support and command liaison functions. Moving to attack platforms, the Z10 is the only straight-out heavy attack helicopter in the PLA, and it's used by both the Ground Force and Air Force. The Z10 is a 7-ton class helicopter equipped with millimetre wave radar, nose-mounted 23mm gun, 4 main hardpoints for air-to-air missiles, anti-tank guided missiles and rockets. It's smaller than the AH-64 Apache, the Mi-28 and the Ka-50, and closer in size to the Eurocopter Tiger. Moving to anti-submarine warfare helos, these largely utilise platforms already discussed in this briefing. The largest and most capable is the Z-18F, primarily for use off the carriers Liaoning and Shandong, but is also able to operate off the Type 055 destroyers. Equipped with surface search radar, dipping sonar, and armed with up to 4 anti-submarine warfare torpedoes or anti-ship missiles, and up to 32 sonar buoys, it has good range payload performance and is a similar capability to the Augusta-Westland 101. At the other end of the spectrum is the Z9. This provides vessels with smaller aviation facilities with a competent ASW helo, albeit with more limited range payload performance. Equipped with a dipping sonar, it can also carry 2 anti-submarine warfare torpedoes. Filling the gap between the Z18 and Z9 is the recently introduced Z20. As with the MH-60 Seahawk, the Z20 fills that Goldilocks zone of not being too big to operate off fleet-capable vessels, but big enough to offer good range payload performance. The Z20 is equipped with a surface search radar, dipping sonar, and armed with anti-submarine warfare torpedoes, anti-ship missiles, and sonar buoys. Still in service with the Navy is the Ka-28. Equipped with dipping sonar, anti-submarine warfare torpedoes and sonar buoys, the key benefit of the Ka-28 is the high level of capability it can provide given its small footprint, thanks to its coaxial rotor configuration. Lastly, airborne early warning platforms. Developed from the Ka series of ASW helicopters, the Ka-31 was originally purchased for the carrier Liaoning. While a limited capability with an aerial detection range of only around 120 kilometres, it provided an important initial capability and stepping stone to its eventual replacement, the Z-18J. The Z-18J is a much more capable platform in terms of range payload performance and has far more internal volume for crew and equipment. Its AESA radar's aerial detection range is in the order of 200 kilometres. It also offers commonality with the anti-submarine warfare, search and rescue and carrier onboard delivery helicopters on the carriers Liaoning and Shandong. In summary, over the past 10 years, the PLA has made significant progress in the quality and quantity of rotary wing platforms across the Ground Force, Navy and Air Force. These developments have allowed the PLA to develop doctrine, equip more units and conduct more complex and realistic training. While it is likely the PLA's ability to conduct air assault operations still lags behind the West, there is no doubt that the PLA is now far more capable of conducting these operations than it was even a few years ago. Additionally, the improvement, at least in a platform sense, in rotary-winged anti-submarine warfare capability has been significant, and China is one of only 3 countries to have developed a rotary-wing airborne early warning capability. With older platforms being replaced, by 2030 it is likely the PLA will have rationalised its rotary wing fleet on the Z9-19 family, Z10s, Z18s and Z20s. That concludes today's briefing. Thank you for watching. Happy to take suggestions for future briefings from subscribers, so please subscribe, like and share. Until next time, Vale de Cere.